Good day to all who may be tuning in to this presentation. My name is A.C. Walter. I'm a graduate student in the School of Education at Liberty University. Today I will be presenting to you a proposal for a student support strategy that is developed for an institution of higher education. I will be building this student support proposal off of the profile of the University of Mary Washington, abbreviated as UMW. UMW is a public four-year liberal arts and science institution in Fredericksburg, Virginia. The reason that I am basing my institution off of UMW is because this is the university that I attended during undergrad, and as a former student of this institution, I feel like I have good background knowledge that would help build a solid student support strategy for an institution that has a profile similar to that of UMW. UMW has a student body of 3,956 students, and while they do have a diverse student body, their highest population is Caucasian in-state students. Also, UMW has students from 33 of our nation's states, as well as students from 21 other countries. All of the support services and systems that I present in this proposal will be based around working at an institution such as UMW. Let's just say my institution will be called AC University, or ACU. The first part of my proposed student support strategy for my institution that I want to discuss is onboarding for new students. The first thing that I would like to talk about with this is notice I am calling it onboarding, not orientation. There's a key difference between these two concepts. Orientation is a one-time event where all students go through all of the same presentations, and once the day is over, they go home. Onboarding, on the other hand, is continuous and more individualized for each student, and it doesn't stop until students are fully settled into the environment and the community of their institution. Orientation should be viewed as just a small part of the whole onboarding process. So why is this important? Vincent Tinto offers us insight into why this is so important in two of his models. In his institutional departure model, Tinto states that the way incoming first-year students transition into college plays a crucial part in how successful they will be at their institutions. Tinto also shares in his model known as taking retention seriously, rethinking the first year of college, that colleges need to go above and beyond when it comes to supporting students and promoting student success, especially for first-year students. Tinto gives insight to the 7 major things that cause students to drop out. Those 7 things are fit, goals, difficulty adjusting to a new environment, academic difficulties, money, commitment, and course load. All of these things can be especially difficult for new college students to handle. Some institutions have reported that they have lost more than half of their applicants before they even arrive on campus for classes because of all of these pressures. This is why providing a good facilitation of an onboarding experience is imperative for new students. With all this in mind, here's my proposal to my institution, ACU, regarding onboarding. First off, immediately after a prospective student submits their application for the institution, they will be sent an email as well as a letter in the mail that goes over all of the information they need to gather, as well as what they should prepare to be ready for, such as dates certain things are due, dates of events that they need to attend, and information about cost and so on in the event that they are accepted into the institution. If the student is accepted, they will be sent an email along with an official acceptance letter in the mail. Both of these correspondences will include a list of all the important offices that a student might need to connect with's phone number and website URL, as well as include a to-do check sheet that gives them a list of tasks they need to complete and their due dates. The task on the to-do list will also include the office that is associated with the task so that students can easily reach out to the proper office if they need assistance. At this point, someone from the academic advising team and or admissions team will reach out to incoming students every 2 weeks via phone call to see if they can assist in any way. There will also be 2 orientation dates for students. The first orientation will consist of what we all know an orientation to be. Small cohorts and sessions that students rotate around in their groups and get an overview of information on the college. The second orientation will occur 3 weeks before they are to report on campus. This whole week will be dedicated to new students and them getting all of the things done they need to. The institution staff will be all hands on deck for this in order to make sure students are being supported. All new incoming students will be split up between one of the days out of the week for this second orientation, and all campus offices will be open for the whole day and even with extended hours so that students can go around and get all the things that they need to complete done. Once students are on campus, the onboarding process will not stop. All new students will be required to take a new student seminar, which will basically be a class that is all things their new institution. This class will talk about things that go on at the college, how to get involved, where do you go for help, events, clubs, you name it. The teacher of this class will also act as a general advisor for new students. Anything that they need help with or advice on, they can go to this individual. New students will also be required to meet with an academic advisor from the academic advisor's office at least once every month during their first semester. To not add too much to the student's plate, this meeting can simply be just by emailing the academic advising office and saying, hey, this is my check-in for this month. I don't really need any help right now. Or they may set up a phone call, virtual, or in-person appointment if they need that. This onboarding system for new students provides support in all areas so that students can get easily adjusted to their new institution in all things ACU. The types of support that I am proposing for AC University are peer tutoring. Peer tutoring would be offered in every subject. This would be a paid position for the student tutors. Students who need a little extra help could go here. This is also beneficial for the student tutors themselves as they would have to stay on top of their studies in a subject area in order to be a tutor. A writing center. This is where students could take their writing for editing, content help, and formatting, basically all things writing. Professors could even entice students to utilize this by offering extra credit to students who submit their paper to the Writing Center for feedback and editing. Academic advising. The Academic Advising Office could help students when it came to knowing what classes to take and scheduling their days. This is important because without proper advising, students can make a small mistake that would throw their whole trajectory of graduation off. Office hours. Professors would be required to have office hours every day. Students could utilize this to go ask professors for a little extra help if they needed it. And study spaces. ACU would have an array of study areas that students could utilize. All major academic buildings and dining halls would have areas that students could utilize for study purposes, but the big study areas that ACU would offer is a convergence center that is open 24 hours. This is where students can rent out study rooms to collaborate with groups and utilize multiple other study areas in the building that have comfortable and fun seating, like beanbag chairs, for example, as well as use state-of-the-art technology to take their studying to the next level. The library. The library would have tree fort desks where students could go to a completely quiet environment, as well as study rooms if they need a whiteboard to study with. And then also in the dormitories, all dormitories would include multiple study rooms for students to use as well. Having all of these areas to study in would fit the needs of an array of different students. These study areas would also be designed to entice students to want to utilize them. I base the academic support that would be offered at ACU off of the research of George Kuh and Nevitt Stanford. George Kuh says that the more a student is involved in learning, the more successful they are in other aspects of their college life. That is why it's important that ACU provides areas and systems that allow students to be engaged in their studies. However, the reason that ACU will not go too above and beyond with support is because we learned from Nevitt Stanford's challenge and support theory that students need a good balance of challenge and support in order for them to be successful. Too much support can make students dependent on always needing help. Next, let's discuss my proposal for co-curricular support at ACU. With a diverse student body such as that of ACU, ACU should provide offices that are tailored to helping and involving certain groups of people. To name a few, for example, veterans, those in the LGBTQ community, and offices for minority groups, and so forth. ACU would also provide clubs for people of all interest. ACU would offer clubs ranging from club sports to anime club. ACU would also host an array of events such as a homecoming tailgate where sports teams play our rival school and alumni come back to support their alma mater. And ACU would also put on a spring concert for students, where ACU would bring in well-known artists to perform on campus towards the end of the spring semester. These are just some of the many co-curriculars that ACU would have to offer. These co-curriculars are designed to get students involved at ACU. Getting students involved is extremely important. Alexander Aston's theory of involvement tells us that the more a student is involved at their institution, the chances of them dropping out become smaller, and the chances of them succeeding at their institution grow.
Next, let's discuss at-risk identification and conducting at-risk intervention. The way that ACU should approach at-risk student identification is by combining the use of geolocation data and predictive analytics. First off, using predictive analytics is extremely useful. The use of predictive analytics would allow faculty at ACU to see patterns of students and find ways to help them if need be. When combining geolocation data with predictive analytics, identifying at-risk students becomes much easier. For example, if a professor notices that a student has poor class attendance, doesn't utilize the online textbook for class, tutoring services has no record of them setting up appointments, and they don't utilize office hours, the prediction can be made that that particular student could be deemed at risk. So how do we handle these students? With the proposed way that ACU should identify at-risk students, the intervention of these said students can start earlier. Professors who are worried about a student can create what is known as an early alert for a student, and this will be attached to their student profiles. This will notify the counseling center, academic advising, all of the students' other professors, and even the deans and president of the university that a student is marked as at risk. This is helpful because then the student can be checked on by the proper people and the at-risk behaviors can be fixed and the student can be supported to get involved at the institution, and they can also be given a refresher on the services that are offered at ACU. Depending on what the student is involved in on campus is how it'll be handled after that. For those students who are on a sports team, the coach will handle all things with that student. It'll be required that the student gets a set amount of study hours every week that is supervised by their coach. They will also have to meet with an academic advisor or a counselor on occasion to make sure all things are going smooth for them. For students not on a sports team, they will be required to meet with the professor that flagged them as at risk once every week, as well as meet with a counselor or an academic advisor to make sure all things are going well. With the way ACU would identify at-risk students, it would allow for early intervention and to help get the students involved in things around campus, which could help turn their at-risk behaviors around. Going back to the research of Alexander Aston and Vincent Tinto, we can understand that students being able to get involved, engaged, and build social connections is vital to their success. So, how should we at ACU approach this? The best way to get students engaged is by understanding what interests them. Something that ACU could utilize that students have massive interest in is social media. In a past paper of mine, which is cited in this presentation, titled EDUC 665 Student Engagement Paper, written by me, AC Allen Christian Walter, I explained how certain social media platforms can be used to promote student engagement. This is what ACU would utilize. ACU would have a TikTok account that would be available for students to follow, where the university would post videos that talk about upcoming events, highlight clubs and activities, inform students of deadlines, and much more. A way that this could also build student engagement is by ACU featuring students from their student body in the videos. Professors would also be required to have TikTok accounts for their classes. On their TikTok, professors would have videos that provide class announcements, reminders about upcoming assignments, tips and tricks for classworks, and offer little blurbs about class content. The reason that this would promote engagement is because students utilize social media every day and they are passionate about it. Therefore, if ACU gets involved in social media, it makes students aware of things going on inside and outside of the classroom. This could also entice students to participate more in things going on around campus. The last part of my student support strategy for ACU is all things faculty and staff. Without them being on board and actively taking part in this support strategy, then it will not be successful. The biggest way to get faculty buy-in to ideas is to meet them with respect when presenting something. To get faculty on board with this idea when it is presented to them, the goals need to be clearly explained and backed by data so that they can understand the importance. Once the goals are explained to the faculty, it is vital that you listen to their concerns and objections with the proposal that is made and actually take the suggestions and advice that they give
and find ways to implement them into the strategies. After all, these individuals are the ones who see students in class and around campus every day, so they could offer valuable insight to this student support proposal. Once faculty is bought into the idea, it creates an environment where the mission and the vision of ACU can be supported by them, which in turn supports students. When faculty understands and is supportive of why we want to get students involved and why we are doing the things we are doing for students on campus in order to create support for them, then students are more willing to participate as well and actually take part in that support. This ultimately allows ACU to fulfill its mission to educate minds that add value and growth to the world. Here are my references for this presentation. Thank you very much for tuning in.